It was a Tuesday morning, just like countless others. I was buried deep in case files at my midtown office, the quiet hum of the city outside providing a familiar backdrop. But then my screen flickered to life, and a message landed that would shatter the calm. Robert here. Don't come to the family reunion this weekend. Chloe's boyfriend is a state senator. We need to impress him. You understand? No question mark, just a chilling assumption of my compliance. Chloe, my younger sister by 3 years, had always been a master of playing the victim. I'd seen her cry her way out of consequences more times than I could count, like the time she wrecked Robert's car at 17 and somehow convinced them it was my fault for not warning her about icy roads, even though I was 200 miles away at college. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Susan. Your father's right, sweetheart. This is really important for Chloe's future. Senator Ethan Price is very influential. We can't risk anything going wrong. I stared at both messages, the words stinging more than the outright disinvitation. After everything I'd accomplished, they still saw me as the problem child, the one who didn't fit their image of success. Okay, I typed back to Robert. That single word carried the weight of years of similar dismissals, the graduations they'd missed, the promotion celebrations skipped, all because of Chloe's latest crisis. My office line rang. It was Maya from the Hospital Foundation. Dr. Evelyn Reed, we're finalizing the seating chart for Saturday's fundraiser. You're at the head table as our keynote speaker. Is there anything you need? Saturday. The same night as the family reunion. Everything's perfect, I said, my voice steady despite the churning in my stomach. I'm looking forward to it. The Children's Hospital Foundation Gala was the biggest charitable event of the season. I was speaking about the mobile clinic program I developed, bringing pediatric care to underserved communities. It had treated over 5,000 children in its first year, and major donors were flying in from 3 states. I'd mentioned the gala to my parents months ago, but they nodded absently, more interested in Chloe's new, politically important relationship. Wednesday brought another text, this time from Chloe herself. Mom said you're not coming this weekend. Good. Price's people are super strict about optics. No offense, but your whole activist doctor thing doesn't really fit the image we're going for. My activist doctor thing. That's what she called running free clinics in neighborhoods most people pretended didn't exist. I didn't respond. Thursday afternoon, my colleague David stopped by my office. Ready for your big speech? He asked. The foundation board is thrilled. They're expecting over 300 people. I'm ready, I assured him. He leaned against my doorframe. You know Senator Price will be there, right? He's receiving some civic leadership award before your keynote. My hand stilled on the keyboard. Price? I asked carefully. Yeah, State Senator Ethan Price. The guy's been making noise about running for Congress. Foundation wanted someone with political pull to draw the corporate donors. I pulled up the foundation's event page. There was Ethan Price's photo, professionally lit, smiling beside his biography, 38 years old, Georgetown Law School graduate, rising star, recently engaged. The room felt smaller. You okay? David asked. Fine, I managed. Just reviewing my notes. After he left, I sat still, then opened a new browser tab and searched for recent news about the senator. The third result showed a photo from a charity event last month. Ethan Price stood with his arm around a familiar blonde woman. Chloe. The caption identified her as his fiancée. Fiancée, not just girlfriend. I spent the next hour reading everything I could find. The engagement had been announced 6 weeks ago. Chloe had quit her job to focus on Ethan's campaign full-time. She'd been quoted in multiple articles about her excitement to be part of something bigger. Robert and Susan had been photographed at the engagement party, beaming, Robert's arm around Chloe. One article specifically mentioned how Ethan's family had immediately welcomed his future bride. I scrolled through Chloe's social media. Post after post at campaign events, charity dinners, political rallies. She'd completely remade herself into the perfect politician's wife, captions full of hashtags about public service. The irony burned. Chloe, who had never shown interest in anything beyond her own comfort, now positioned herself as a champion of community engagement. Meanwhile, I'd spent 15 years actually doing the work, and my own family deemed me too embarrassing to acknowledge. I found a video of a town hall where Ethan discussed healthcare policy. Chloe sat in the front row, nodding along as he talked about accessible medical care. The comments praised her supportive presence, calling them a power couple. My hands shook as I closed the laptop. Ethan and I had divorced 12 years ago, but the memories rushed back with unexpected clarity. We'd met in college, both idealistic. He wanted to reform the system through politics. I wanted to help people directly through medicine. We'd married young, full of plans. But medical school consumed my time, his law school and political ambitions consumed his. We'd grown in different directions, wanting fundamentally different lives. The divorce was civil. No screaming, no betrayals, just two people acknowledging incompatibility. He wanted a partner for fundraisers and political dinners. I wanted to work in emergency rooms and free clinics, coming home exhausted and covered in other people's suffering. We signed the papers and went our separate ways. I'd thrown myself into residency and building the mobile clinic program. Ethan climbed the political ladder. I hadn't thought about him in years. Now, he was engaged to my sister, and my parents were so invested they'd exclude me rather than risk awkwardness. My office phone rang again. Dr. Reed, just confirming your dietary preferences for Saturday and letting you know we finalized the program. You'll speak right after Senator Price receives his award. We're expecting great energy. Sounds perfect, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my head. We're also arranging media coverage. A few local news outlets want to cover the event, especially your keynote. The mobile clinic program has gotten so much positive attention. Media coverage, of course. Whatever you think is best, I told her. After we hung up, I walked to the window. The city stretched out below, unaware of the small dramas playing out in offices and homes. I could withdraw, claim illness. Let Chloe have her perfect night with her senator fiancé and our proud parents. The old version of me might have done exactly that, the one who made herself smaller to avoid conflict. But I'd spent 15 years building something real. My mobile clinic program started with one van, one nurse. Now, for fully equipped vehicles, 12 medical professionals, partnerships with 3 hospitals. We provided over 40,000 patient visits to communities underserved for generations. Children had better lives because of my work. Why should I hide that? Why make myself invisible because my presence might create uncomfortable questions for my sister and her fiancé? Friday morning brought another message from Robert. Your mother is very upset. This weekend is important for our family's future. I hope you'll reconsider and support your sister. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on silence. Let him wonder. Let them all wonder. At the Willow Creek Clinic that afternoon, I treated a teenager named Sophia who'd been having severe headaches. The exam revealed dangerously high blood pressure, something that should have been caught years ago. Am I going to die? She asked, trying to sound brave. No, I assured her. But we need to get you on medication and monitor this carefully. Can your mom bring you back next week? Her mother, Isabella, nodded vigorously. We'll be here. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. Walking out to my car, I thought about the contrast. Here was a family genuinely grateful for basic medical care. Meanwhile, my own family couldn't see past their social aspirations long enough to recognize the value of what I built. The security guard, an older man named Arthur, waved. You heading to that big fancy event tomorrow, Dr. Reed? He asked. How did you know about that? He grinned. My wife follows the hospital foundation. She's been telling everyone about you speaking. Real proud of you. Says you're finally getting recognized proper. Thank you, Arthur. That means a lot. You deserve it, he said firmly. All the good you do around here. About time people with money noticed. I drove home thinking about his words. People with money would be at the gala. People with influence and connections. People who could expand a mobile clinic program beyond what I'd ever imagined. That's what Saturday was really about. Not my family drama or my ex-husband's political career, but the opportunity to secure resources for communities that desperately needed them. Saturday morning, I went for a run before the sun came up. The streets were quiet. I thought about my keynote speech, mentally reviewing the stories I'd share. Marcus, the 12-year-old whose soccer dreams nearly ended because his family couldn't afford treatment. The Rodriguez family, 3 generations in a 2-bedroom apartment, no one had seen a dentist in 5 years. Story after story of real people whose lives had genuinely improved because we'd shown up and refused to accept that healthcare should be conditional on income or zip code. That's what I needed to focus on. Not the revenge fantasy playing out in my head, but the actual mission that had driven me for 15 years. Back home, I showered and ate a light breakfast. My phone showed 6 missed calls from Chloe and 4 from Susan. I'd see whatever messages they left after the gala. Choosing my dress took longer than expected. The navy one was professional, but there was a deep burgundy dress I'd bought months ago and never worn. More striking, more memorable. I chose the burgundy. My hair went up in a simple, elegant style. Minimal jewelry, just pearl earrings that had belonged to my grandmother. She'd been a nurse, one of the first in her generation to attend college. She would have understood what I was trying to build. Looking at my reflection, I barely recognized myself. Not because of the dress or hair, but because of the expression on my face, determined, unapologetic, ready. The drive to the Grand Oaks Country Club felt surreal. I'd been here once before for a medical conference, a place that reeked of old money. I wondered if Chloe had told Ethan about her family. Had she mentioned having a sister, or had she created a carefully edited version of her life? Arriving early gave me time to center myself. The preparation room was quiet. I reviewed my notes one final time, though I'd memorized every word. My phone buzzed with another message from Susan. We're having the reunion at the Grand Oaks Country Club. Ethan's parents are members and they arranged everything. Please don't make this difficult. the Grand Oaks Country Club, where the foundation gala was being held. I walked to the window and looked out. 15 years ago, I'd been a scholarship student working 3 jobs to get through medical school. My parents had offered minimal support, preferring to fund Chloe's liberal arts degree and subsequent finding herself period in Europe. When I'd opened my first free clinic, Robert had asked why I was wasting my education on people who wouldn't appreciate it. Susan worried what their friends would think. Chloe had never visited any of my clinics, never asked about my work beyond superficial questions she'd forget. Yet I was the one who didn't fit their image. The evening arrived with clear skies. The Grand Oaks glowed with white lights. Valets hustled. I could see the ballroom already filling. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror one last time. The foundation had reserved a preparation room. Maya found me reviewing the program. Dr. Reed, thank you for being early. Senator Price just arrived. Would you like to meet him before the ceremony? That won't be necessary, I said smoothly. I'm sure he's busy. She nodded and hurried off. The program was straightforward: cocktail hour, dinner, Ethan Price would receive his award, then I'd deliver my keynote. At 7 o'clock, the ballroom doors opened. I made my way to the head table, positioned on a raised platform. My place card sat between the foundation president and a major donor. The ballroom filled. A string quartet played softly. I recognized faces from the medical community. Then I saw Robert and Susan. They entered through the main doors, Chloe between them. Robert in his best suit, Susan meticulously styled. Chloe looked stunning in a silver gown. They were laughing, completely at ease. Behind them walked Ethan Price, perfectly polished. They made their way through the crowd, shaking hands. I watched them approach the head table area. A volunteer checked their names. The volunteer pointed toward the head table. I saw the exact moment Susan's gaze swept the platform and landed on me. Her smile froze. She grabbed Robert's arm, her grip tight. She whispered something. His eyes widened, searching until he found me sitting calmly. Chloe was still talking, oblivious. The volunteer gestured again, indicating their assigned seats, the head table, where all the VIPs and honored guests would sit because, of course, the senator receiving an award would sit right where his fiancée's family would join him. Robert's face had gone pale. Susan looked like she might faint. They couldn't make a scene. Not here. Not with Senator Price's reputation on the line and 300 influential guests watching. The volunteers started leading them to the table. Chloe finally noticed her parents' strange behavior. She followed their line of sight to where I sat. Her mouth opened in shock. Ethan Price, still shaking hands, remained unaware of the growing crisis. My parents reached the table first. Robert's hand shook as he pulled out Susan's chair. She sat mechanically, her eyes never leaving my face. "Hello, Mother," I said pleasantly. "Robert, you both look wonderful." Robert's jaw worked, but no sound came out. Chloe arrived next, practically dragging Ethan. She leaned in to whisper urgently to him, but he was focused on greeting the foundation president. "Senator Price," the president said warmly. "We're so honored to have you. Please sit here between Dr. Reed and Mr. Peterson." The president gestured to the empty seat, placing Ethan between me and a major donor. Chloe and my parents would be seated on the opposite side of the table, close enough to witness everything. Ethan turned toward me with his practiced political smile. The smile died. Every trace of color drained from his face. He stood completely motionless, staring at me like I was a ghost. "Ethan?" Chloe tugged his arm. "Are you okay?" He didn't respond, didn't blink. Just stared. I met his gaze calmly, my expression neutral. The Foundation president looked between us, confused by the sudden tension. "Have you two met?" she asked cheerfully. Ethan's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He started, his voice barely above a whisper. Chloe's eyes darted between us, her confusion rapidly transforming into suspicion. "How do you know each other?" she demanded. The string quartet had stopped playing. Nearby tables had begun noticing the scene. Ethan looked like he might be sick. His perfect politician's composure had shattered. Susan made a small, desperate sound. I remained seated, completely composed, and waited. "Tell her," I said quietly to Ethan. "Tell your fiancé how we know each other." His face had gone from pale to gray. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He stammered. Chloe grabbed his arm harder. "Ethan, what is she talking about?" The ballroom had gone quiet. 300 people waited. Ethan's hands trembled. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked. "We were married." The words dropped into the silence like stones into still water. Chloe's grip on his arm loosened. "What?" 15 years ago, I said, my voice carrying clearly. "We were married for 3 years before he decided politics was more important than our relationship." Susan made a choking sound. Ethan seemed to have lost the ability to speak again. "You're divorced?" Chloe's voice had risen to a near shriek. "Yes," I confirmed. "The divorce was finalized 12 years ago." People at nearby tables leaned in, not even pretending they weren't listening. Several had their phones out. Chloe turned on me, her face twisted with rage. "You knew. You knew all along, and you didn't tell me." "I didn't know you were dating Ethan until yesterday," I replied calmly. "You never mentioned his name. Our parents only said you were seeing an important state senator." Robert found his voice. "This is inappropriate. We should discuss this privately." "Should we?" I asked. "The way you discussed uninviting me from the family reunion?" "Privately? By text message?" "Because I didn't fit the image you wanted to project." Susan's face flushed red. We didn't mean, you told me not to come because I'd embarrass you," I continued. "Because my activist doctor thing didn't fit the political image you were cultivating." Several gasps rippled through the nearby tables. Ethan finally seemed to recover. "Evelyn, please. This isn't the time or place." "Isn't it?" I stood slowly. "This seems like exactly the time and place. You're receiving an award for civic leadership. I'm giving a speech about bringing healthcare to underserved communities." Quite the coincidence. Chloe's eyes were wild. "This is sabotage. You planned this." "I planned nothing," I said. "I was invited to speak here months ago, long before you started dating Ethan. You can check with the foundation if you don't believe me." The foundation president nodded mutely, overwhelmed. "But you knew he'd be here," Chloe accused. "I found out Thursday." I admit it. I could have withdrawn, but why should I? I earned this speaking invitation through my work. I've treated over 5,000 children through the mobile clinic program. I've built something that matters. Why should I hide because my ex-husband happens to be receiving an award at the same event? Ethan's political instincts finally kicked in. He turned to the foundation president with a strange smile. I apologize for this disruption. Perhaps it would be best if I stepped down from receiving the award tonight. Given the circumstances. No need, I interrupted. Your award has nothing to do with me. You've done good work on the education committee. You deserve recognition for that. He looked uncertain, trapped. Chloe wasn't finished. You're enjoying this. You wanted to humiliate us. I wanted to give a speech about providing healthcare to children who need it, I corrected. Your humiliation is entirely self-inflicted. Susan stood abruptly. Chloe, Ethan, we should leave. This is clearly a mistake. Sit down, Susan. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. You're making a scene. She froze, shocked. I never used that tone with my parents. You spent my entire life making me feel like I wasn't good enough, I said. Not pretty enough, not charming enough, not interested in the right things. You funded Chloe's extended adolescence while I worked myself half to death getting through medical school. You've missed every important moment in my career because something to do with Chloe always took priority. Robert reached for Susan's hand. That's not fair, Evelyn, is it? Isn't it? When I got married, you didn't come because it was the same weekend as Chloe's friend's destination bachelorette party. When I opened my first clinic, you asked why I was wasting time on charity work instead of building a real practice. And now, when I'm being honored for work that's changed thousands of lives, you tried to keep me away because I might embarrass you in front of Chloe's important boyfriend. Tears streamed down Susan's face, but I couldn't stop. The irony is that Ethan and I actually parted on decent terms. We wanted different things. He wanted political advancement and a wife who'd host fundraisers and smile for cameras. I wanted to actually help people. We recognized we weren't compatible and moved on like adults. I turned to Ethan, who looked like he wished the floor would swallow him. I never spoke badly about you after the divorce. Never tried to damage your reputation or career. I moved on with my life and built something I'm proud of. I know, he said quietly. I followed your work. The mobile clinic program is remarkable. Chloe whirled on him. You knew about this? You knew she was doing this, and you never told me. I didn't know she was your sister, he protested. You never mentioned your sister was a doctor. You only talked about how she was difficult, and how your parents had to manage her expectations. The betrayal on Chloe's face would have been satisfying if it wasn't so pathetic. We described you exactly how you've always been, Robert said weakly. Difficult, uncompromising. Yes, I agreed. I'm very difficult about things like medical ethics and treating patients with dignity. I'm extremely uncompromising about providing quality healthcare regardless of someone's ability to pay. These are such terrible character flaws. The sarcasm landed heavily. Maya appeared at my elbow, her expression pained. Dr. Reed. Should we proceed as planned? I said firmly. Senator Price will receive his award and give his remarks. Then I'll deliver my keynote. Unless the senator wishes to withdraw. All eyes turned to Ethan. I could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Walk out and look guilty, or stay and maintain dignity. I'll stay, he said finally. Evelyn is right. This is about the Foundation's work, not our personal history. Chloe looked between us, her face cycling through emotions too quickly to track. Finally, she grabbed her purse. I'm leaving, she announced. Ethan, are you coming with me? He hesitated just long enough to make his choice clear. I think I should stay, he said carefully. This is an important event for my campaign. Chloe's face crumpled, then hardened. Fine. We're done. She stormed toward the exit, her silver gown swishing dramatically. Robert and Susan looked at each other, clearly torn. Go with her, I said tiredly. You always do. Susan opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. They followed Chloe out of the ballroom. The silence that followed their departure was deafening. Then the Foundation president cleared her throat. Well, shall we begin the program? The rest of the evening proceeded with surreal normalcy. Ethan received his award and gave a competent speech about education reform. He didn't look at me once. When it was my turn, I walked to the podium and looked out at 300 faces watching me with undisguised fascination. I set aside my prepared notes. Good evening. I'm Dr. Evelyn Reed, and I'm here to talk about why healthcare should never be conditional on status or image. I told them about Rosa, the 7-year-old with diabetes whose mother couldn't afford insulin. About Marcus, the teenager with a heart condition that went undiagnosed until her mobile clinic caught it. About the grandmother who cried when we treated her granddaughter's asthma. I talked for exactly 20 minutes about the real work of medicine, stripped of politics and prestige and everything that didn't matter when a child needed help. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Ethan was one of the first to stand. Afterward, donors surrounded me, business cards and promises of funding. The Foundation president announced they'd exceeded their fundraising goal by 40%. A woman in an elegant black gown approached, introducing herself as Eleanor Vance, director of a healthcare nonprofit based in Atlanta. Dr. Reed, your work is exactly what we've been trying to replicate in our region, she said. Would you be willing to consult with our team? We have funding, but we're struggling with implementation. I'd be happy to help, I said, taking her card. Another donor, an older gentleman who'd made his fortune in pharmaceuticals, shook my hand vigorously. My company has been looking for community healthcare initiatives to support, he said. Your mobile clinic model is brilliant. Let's schedule a meeting next week to discuss a potential partnership. The evening had shifted from personal drama to professional opportunity in 20 minutes. This was what I'd come here for, what I'd worked toward for 15 years. Maya found me, flushed with excitement. Dr. Reed. We have 3 journalists who want interviews. The local news station wants to feature the mobile clinic program on their evening broadcast next week, and the Foundation board just approved doubling our support for your program. I felt dizzy with the sudden influx of good news. That's incredible. You earned it, she said warmly. That speech was the most powerful thing I've heard in 20 years of running these events. As the crowd thinned, I noticed my parents hadn't returned. Chloe's dramatic exit had apparently taken them with it, just as I predicted. A young woman approached hesitantly. Dr. Reed, I'm sorry to bother you, but I had to say thank you. For what? I'm Olivia Hayes. You treated my little brother at the Willow Creek Clinic 2 years ago. He had pneumonia, and my mom couldn't afford to take him to the emergency room. You saved his life. The memory came back, a frightened 6-year-old struggling to breathe, his mother near hysteria. We'd gotten him to the hospital just in time. "How is he doing?" I asked. "He's great, healthy, and happy. My mom wanted me to tell you if I ever saw you." Her eyes filled with tears. She says, "You're an angel." "I'm just a doctor doing my job." "No," Olivia said firmly. "You're more than that. You showed up when no one else would. That matters." After she left, I stood alone for a moment, letting her words sink in. This was why the criticism from my family had always stung so deeply. They couldn't see what people like Olivia and her mother understood instinctively, that showing up for people who'd been overlooked was worth more than any country club membership or political connection. A server offered me champagne. I took a glass and moved toward the terrace doors, needing air and a moment to process. The terrace overlooked the golf course, dark now. The night air was cool and welcome. "Evelyn." I turned to find Ethan standing in the doorway. "That was a powerful speech," he said. "Thank you." We stood in awkward silence. "I really didn't know Chloe was your sister," he said finally. "She never talked about you much." "I'm not surprised. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About tonight, about how things ended between us." I studied him. He'd aged well, still handsome in that polished political way. But the passion I'd once loved was gone, replaced by calculated ambition. "We were young," I said. "We wanted different things. It happens." "You've done incredible work," he said. "The mobile clinic program is everything you dreamed about back when we were together." "Yes," I agreed. "It is." He shifted his weight. "I should probably check on Chloe. Try to explain." "Good luck with that." He smiled ruefully. "Yeah, I'll need it." He paused. "She really didn't tell you about me. She never mentioned your name, just that she was dating an important senator her parents wanted to impress, and you had no idea until Thursday afternoon." He shook his head. "What are the odds in a state this size?" "Higher than you'd think." I gathered my things. "Congratulations on your award, Ethan. The education work really is good." "Thank you." "And Evelyn, your parents were wrong. You've never been the embarrassment they treated you as." It was probably the kindest thing he'd said to me in 15 years. I drove home through quiet streets, exhausted, but oddly peaceful. My phone had 17 missed calls and 34 text messages, all from my family. I deleted them without reading. Sunday morning brought a knock. I opened it to find Susan standing on the porch, her eyes red from crying. "Can we talk?" she asked. I let her in. We sat in my living room, surrounded by medical journals and photos from clinic events. She looked around at my life like she was seeing it for the first time. "I owe you an apology," she said finally. "Yes," I agreed. "You do." She twisted her hands in her lap. "We thought we were protecting Chloe. She's always been more fragile than you, more sensitive." "She's been enabled," I corrected. "There's a difference." Susan flinched but didn't argue. "You're right. We made excuses for her and expected you to just manage because you were stronger. Being strong doesn't mean I didn't need support." "I know." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I watched you work yourself to exhaustion through medical school. I saw you sacrifice everything for your career. And instead of being proud, I worried what people would think about you working in those neighborhoods. Why? I asked. Why did you care more about appearances than about the actual good I was doing? She was quiet for a long moment. Because it was easier. Easier to focus on Chloe's simple problems than to admit I didn't understand your complicated ones. Easier to attend her parties than to face the reality of the suffering you dealt with every day. It was more honesty than I'd expected. Chloe's not speaking to any of us, she continued. She blames everyone but herself for what happened. Ethan tried to call her yesterday. She blocked his number. That's between them. Your father wants to apologize, too. He's just too proud to come himself. I thought about Robert's face when he realized I was at the gala. The shame mixed with anger. I don't need his apology right now, I said. I need space. Susan nodded. I understand. But please know that watching you speak last night, hearing what you've accomplished, I was proud, genuinely proud, and ashamed that I tried to keep you away. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. The clinic in Willow Creek, she said. Could I volunteer there? Nothing medical, just administrative work or whatever you need. I searched her face for signs of performance or manipulation. Found only genuine uncertainty. Call the clinic coordinator tomorrow, I said. They'll tell you what's needed. After she left, I made coffee and sat on my balcony, watching the city wake up. My phone buzzed with a message from David. Saw the video from last night. You're trending on medical Twitter. Also, 3 new donors contacted the foundation because of your speech. You're a rock star. I smiled and set the phone aside. The family reunion I'd been uninvited from had imploded spectacularly. Ethan Price's political campaign would recover, but his relationship with Chloe wouldn't. My parents were facing uncomfortable truths about their parenting choices, and I'd secured funding to expand the mobile clinic program to 2 more neighborhoods. Some revenge is served cold. Some is served at black tie fundraisers in front of 300 witnesses. Either way, it tastes like justice. What does justice truly feel like when it's finally served?